Now, some of you that have seen my videos, you're probably looking at this keyboard and saying you've seen it before, but you haven't, at least not on this channel. This is the Advantage 2. I recently did a review on the original Advantage, a keyboard that I had for over a decade, a keyboard that I loved, and a keyboard that ultimately saved me from having pain and numbness in my hands. This is something that people suffer with all over the world, and this keyboard really saved me. But as wonderful of a keyboard as it was and as it is, the new Advantage 2 takes it to an entirely different level. Now, before we talk about all the new features of the Advantage 2, let's first of all go over the Advantage keyboard, which this is based on. So essentially, they took the original Advantage keyboard and they made it better. So to understand the Advantage 2, we're going to start with the original Advantage, and then we're going to go on to talking about the Advantage 2, which is the latest version. This is my personal keyboard. I've had it close to 10 years. It is a Kinesis Advantage keyboard, and I'm going to walk you through the keyboard and what makes it so special. So first of all, as you can see, it's a split keyboard. So you have two keyboard wells, one on the right and one on the left. What you see here are, these are keys that you use a lot. Control, see that's duplicated. Control, left and right. Alt to left and right. In this case, I actually have the Windows key here. You can remap these keys how you want. You have a backspace on the left, space on the right, delete on the left, enter on the right, page up and page down right here, home and end here. So these are keys that you're going to be using a lot when you're typing, programming, whatever it is. So they are, the logic here is that you're using your stronger finger, your thumbs, instead of using a weaker finger. The whole idea here is comfort and the ability for you to be able to type quickly and for long periods of time without having any problems. So that's going to require you to be efficient in terms of how you're typing. If you're using a small finger, your weakest finger here all the time, and you're stretching it in all kinds of awkward positions, you know, I got to reach over here and reach over there, that's where you're going to run into pain and discomfort. So the idea here is to eliminate a lot of that stuff, and there's a lot of things that are done to facilitate that. So number one, again, most popular keys are here, using your thumbs instead of your smaller, weaker fingers. Additionally, again, you have two keyboard wells. Now, why do you have that? There's a couple of things that you're solving here. In a normal, so-called normal keyboard, and I actually consider this to really be, I shouldn't say a normal keyboard, but this is a human keyboard. Sometimes people look at this and they're like, oh, that looks kind of weird, blah, 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 because it's unfamiliar. But actually, it is familiar because, number one, if you were to just be in a neutral position sitting in your chair, your arms are naturally to your side, right? Shoulder lengths apart. That's where your arms are. See where my hands are? I'm not putting myself in a typing position. This is just normal, a shoulder length apart. And if I reach out my hands just in front of me, again, I'm not putting them into where the keyboard is and all kinds of weird stuff. This is just naturally. My hands, where they're naturally positioned on my body, just reaching out, and what do you know? My right keyboard well is meeting my right hand. My left keyboard well is meeting my left hand. So I don't have to go into position. So why does this matter? Because in a keyboard that you're probably using right now, you have to bring your hands closer together because all the keys are together, correct? So what you're doing is you're creating stress on your wrists and your shoulders and all that kind of stuff because you have to bring your hands into a natural position. Your hands are not normally together like this, right? That's not your normal position. They're normally, again, shoulder width apart. So with a normal keyboard doing this, you're creating tension. Now, for short periods of time, not a big deal if you don't type that much and you exercise a lot or whatever the situation is, you could be fine typing like this. But for those of us that type a lot and we have problems, typing like this is very uncomfortable. I can feel it right now. Right now, there's stress right now. There's tension on my wrist right now. And not that I'm uncomfortable, but I can see after a while of being like this, I'm going to have some problems. And by the way, before I got this keyboard, I was typing on those weird keyboards that, you know, it's the norm that you were probably typing on, and I was having, you know, pain in my wrists and numbness, and, you know, I could have had a permanent disability, carpal tunnel syndrome. If I didn't find a solution, I could have had some serious problems. This keyboard eliminates that. Instead of stretching like this, you have your hands in a natural position. Now, beyond that, again, this keyboard is designed for humans. Unlike the normal robot keyboard that you're probably using. Humans do not have fingers that are equal length, right? That's not normal. We normally have fingers that are, you have a longer finger here, shorter, and then shorter still, correct? That's why this keyboard well is designed the way it is. The key here and the key here are the deepest in the well, furthest away from your finger. So you have your longest finger that can go deep down into the keyboard well and meet that key. Now your next two fingers are a little bit shorter, right? So therefore these keys are curved upwards to meet that finger as well. So basically the way this keyboard well is positioned or set up, it matches how your fingers are. So it curves up to your shorter finger and deep down into your longer finger. This is what you do in a so-called normal keyboard, right? The keyboard that you're using right now is you have to kind of contort your fingers to kind of make them flat, because the keyboard is designed for flat fingers where your fingers are equal length. Now I'm sure your fingers are not like that. Your fingers are different lengths, so therefore it's more natural and more comfortable to have a keyboard that's designed for the length of your fingers. Now the other thing that is here is that this is a vertical keyboard. It's a vertical layout. So you see how the keys are in a vertical layout, right? So what that allows me to do is to actually type faster. I think at my fastest I've typed on this is about 80 to 90 words per minute. I've never been that fast on a normal keyboard. So if you need to type really fast, then this is definitely a keyboard you want to consider, because it's all about efficiency, and with that efficiency comes the ability to potentially type faster and also more comfortably. So you have the keys that are, again, curved to meet your fingers. You have a vertical layout, so you're not going sideways and stretching over. I got to meet that key. Everything's vertical. So I can go from, J to U, go up to I, go up to O, go up to P. So I'm just going up and down, up and down, up and down, and I want to go down. So that's all I'm doing. So for this row, I go up to U, down to M. If I want to go Y, minimal stretching over to the Y. It's curved to meet my finger. Again, remember this is curved, right? So I don't have to stretch it as I would normally have to. This is a flat keyboard. So again, efficiency. Curves to meet my finger. Stretch over to Y, that's not really a stretch at all. Nice and easy to get over there. I can go over to the H, nice and easy. Go over to the N, nice and easy. And then that's the most stretching you're really going to ever do, except for the number keys, of course. Because the rest of them is just going up to U, going down to M, in the middle up to I, down to this bracket there. So everything is just up and down, up and down. So most of your typing is just so efficient. The keys are really close together as well. So all this is allowing you for more comfort and more speed as well. And of course these keys are here, so you can always reach them. So I'm going to actually type some stuff up on this keyboard so you can actually see the keyboard in action. So I'm just going to, I guess I can type what I'm actually saying. So now I am typing what I am saying to you, and you can see that I'm not typing as fast as I could if I was not talking to you while making this video. So another thing about it while I'm typing is the amount of pressure required to press these keys is at such a low level that, again, it's all about efficiency. The more strength required to press the keys, the less you're going to be able to type on the keyboard, right? Because how long can you type on the keyboard before you get into problems and being uncomfortable? That's going to factor into how much muscle that you're using to press the keys, how much stretching you're doing, how comfortable you are in terms of how you're positioned. So all that stuff really matters. Now, another thing to consider is this is much smaller. You have some ergonomic keyboards that are they're wide, they're taking up the whole desk. This is a very, very short and compact keyboard just because of the way it's laid out. One of the reasons for that is an integrated keypad. The keypad is actually right here. So if I want to type in numbers, all I have to do is I actually press on keypad. And now this is a normal keypad, just like you'd have on a normal keyboard. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you have the numlock and all that kind of stuff up there. So all this is the normal keypads. If I want to type in numbers, 123 times whatever. When I'm done, I press keypad, and now I'm back to normal. And also, when you press keypad, you have lights here, so it tells you keypad, caps lock, and all that kind of stuff is indicated there. So those are some of the basic features here. You have the nice palm rest here, which I just changed mine after almost 10 years. So pretty good usage out of this. And again, to have a keyboard close to 10 years, man, I think that says a lot about the quality of this keyboard. This keyboard is not cheap. It runs you about 300 to, I think, 325 for another model. It does come with a 60-day guarantee. And again, remember, this is my keyboard that I bought. I've had it close to 10 years. So this is not a paid endorsement or anything like that. This is the real deal. This is my personal keyboard. I've used all over the place, different companies that I've worked at and stuff like that. I've always carried this keyboard with me. I just got a new one, a Bluetooth keyboard, which I'm going to be doing a review on that one as well to show you. Now, one of the things I want to mention is, again, when I bought this keyboard, I was having problems with my wrists. I was having numbness and all the early signs of carpal tunnel syndrome. When I got the keyboard, it took me a little bit, when I say a little bit, I don't know, maybe a week or two before the pain went away. I think initially when I first started typing, it was definitely doable as opposed to a normal keyboard. It was really uncomfortable for me, but it was still a little bit of discomfort. It took about maybe a week or two before the discomfort went away completely, and I've been using it ever since. Again, going on 10 years or actually possibly more, and I'm fine. I type a lot. I'm on the keyboard a lot. I'm on the computer a lot. So, you know, the fact that I've lasted so long and I really don't have any problems. Sometimes I may have some problems with the mouse, and notice I'm using a vertical mouse here. So I'll do a review on this in the future. This is actually a mouse by Evoluent, I think it's called. Now, Kinesis actually makes their own type of vertical mouse. So the fact that I'm actually telling you about the mouse that I have, which is actually from another company, that's just to let you know. You know, it's not a paid endorsement here. I don't think Kinesis would want me talking about somebody else's mouse, you know, when they have their own mouse that they provide. But this is my mouse here. It's a vertical mouse. You can see it's a 3-button mouse. You got three buttons there and a mouse wheel. You've also got another button here as well. Now, another advantage of the fact that this keyboard is so short and so compact. Now, normally with normal keyboards, and some of those ergonomic keyboards are so wide that, you know, you're typing like this and then you're like over here for the mouse, and that's stretching. So you're typing like this and you're stretching over the mouse, stretching over the mouse, stretching over the mouse, and that's uncomfortable after a period of time. Here, it's a small movement from here to there, here to there, here to there. All about efficiency. It's all about efficiency. Additionally, you do have some advanced functions on this keyboard. There's a macro function, which is really cool. So for example, what I can do is I can press program macro. So I hold down the program key and then press macro. I got flashing lights here. Now I have to designate what the trigger is going to be for the macro. So I can say, for example, Control G. So I want a macro that's triggered by Control G. And with this macro, I can say, whenever I press Control G, I want you to do this. Type in, thank you for your help, period, and Shift Home and Control C and Control Tab or Alt Tab and Control V. Then when I'm done with my macro, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go program macro, and that's it. It's that easy and that simple. So now I have this keyboard shortcut that whenever I want to do that, I can simply, wherever I am, whatever program I am in, because it's in the keyboard. That's the thing about this thing. This thing is all in the keyboard. It's not something where you got special drivers and all this kind of stuff. So everything's in a keyboard. So it doesn't matter what program I'm in or whatever it is. At any point in time, I go and hit Control G. Boom. It just did exactly what I told it to do. Typed in the text with the period and then copied and pasted it. Everything I just said was automatically done. And you can do a whole bunch of macros in this keyboard. I believe it is, depending on how you have it set up, you have 24, 36, or 48 macros of up to 56 characters each. So that's pretty cool. So that's a lot of macros that you can store in the keyboard and you can trigger at any point in time. Maybe you're in sales and you have to do a lot of generic stuff that you're saying all the time, certain questions or certain signatures for your email, whatever it is, you can program it right into the keyboard and it's in the keyboard. So any computer you plug this into, your macros are going to be available to you. So pretty cool. I've used this for a lot of different things. Sometimes there's certain programs that I use that have a complex sequence that I have to do all the time. Let's put it in the keyboard. And depending on the environment, the level of security, you may want to even put passwords in here, potentially. I mean, that's obviously potentially a risk, so it really depends on the security level and things like that. But that's pretty much it. I think I've covered most of the details of the keyboard. And additionally, other things to consider is, which I think the final thing that I didn't mention, is also the angle that this has your hands in is optimal angle in terms of how you're, like if I turn my hand like this so you can see the way my hand position is, it's in a very comfortable position. It's neutral. You can see going straight along here. There isn't, stress in my hand like that. Some keyboards actually have this ability with the legs at the bottom here where you can kind of raise the keyboard up. That's a bad thing because now when you do that, you're putting more stress on the wrist. You want to be as neutral as possible. You want to be in that handshake position. That's the way you want to be while you're typing. And as you can see, when I'm on this keyboard, you can see this is the position my hand is in. Very, very neutral, very, very comfortable, very, very natural position. So this is going to be a very comfortable position to be in. It's going to allow you to type very quickly, very efficiently, and very comfortably on the Kinesis Advantage keyboard. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Carlisle's Picks, and this is the brand new Kinesis Advantage 2. So the Kinesis Advantage 2 doesn't exactly look different than the original Kinesis Advantage keyboard, but it in fact is quite different. Kinesis basically has taken the original keyboard design. As we can see, it's the same wonderful keyboard design with the split keywell, the tenting, the concave keywells, the thumb keys in the center. So basically the keys that you use the most, you're using your strongest finger, your thumb. The same vertical arrangement, the same palm supports, and it's also a shorter keyboard than the standard keyboards because the numeric keypad is actually integrated, and you've got the same wonderful mechanical switches, which allowed me to get, I think at my maximum I got to maybe 90 words per minute. That's from 60 to 70 with a normal keyboard. So one of the things that people that use the original Advantage will notice that's very different with this keyboard is something that some people have complained about. I'm on the fence. It's not really that big of a deal to me, but I could see why some people didn't like it. But the buttons on the top row, the function keys, were kind of mushy. Now, all the other keys were nice and crisp and sharp and wonderful, but the top row was always kind of mushy. No longer. Now, this keyboard has Cherry ML mechanical switches on the front row. Now, in addition to that, there is now a status report, which confirms the layout and custom settings. Before, you were kind of in the dark. You didn't really know what you had configured because you can program this keyboard. You can program things like macros, for example. And the thing about it is you don't know what macros you've programmed. I mean, hopefully you've written it down somewhere, but you don't know what's going on in the keyboard. You can't see anything. There's no screen. Well, now they have the functionality which allows you to actually see the programming, and you can actually edit it as well, including doing things like adjusting the speed, which is pretty awesome. You also have the ability to save dozens of custom QWERTY and Dvorak layouts, or you can build your own. So think about, in a way, like how you configure your keyboard for playing video games, and you have different keys doing different things, and depending on what program you're using, you can change the layout. Now, I use gaming just as an idea that people can relate to, but this could be something at work, whatever it is. You're doing different types of applications, and you want to rearrange your layout per application. You want to maybe multiple people using the keyboard. Sometimes it can be QWERTY, sometimes it can be Dvorak. A lot of flexibility and a lot of options with this keyboard. Now, it's compatible with Mac, Windows, and you can actually switch between the two. You've also got extra Alt and Option keys that come with it. And as I mentioned before, you can view your layouts and you can edit them directly. Now, you can record and save hundreds of heavy-duty macros on the fly, and you can also adjust your macro playback speed, as I mentioned before, and you can do that individually per macro, or you can do it globally, so you can make all your macros faster, slower, whatever you want. So as you can see, a lot more flexibility has been added to this keyboard. You have a wonderful set of features that you had on the original keyboard, and now they're just made better. My only complaint is I really wish a lot of these changes could have been done before, but I say that only in hindsight because It's not like over the 10 plus years that I've used this keyboard that I've been thinking, oh man, this keyboard really needs this and it really needs that. I mean, sure, there have been occasionally where I was like, oh, I wish I had more memory. But for the most part, it did the job that I bought it for. It's been a wonderful keyboard. I haven't had any problems at all. No pain, no numbness, no nothing. And that's why I bought the keyboard. Now, the fact that it had the macro features, that was awesome too. And I've used that a lot. So I'm really only talking in hindsight when I say I wish they had done these features before. Because now that I've seen the new features, I'm like, I'm loving this. And I'm just like, I wish that, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that I had these features. But once again, I love the keyboard as it was. And now I love it even more. So as I mentioned before, you can totally customize the keyboard so you can move keys anywhere to the keyboard. You want to have E, print F, or whatever it is. You can move your keys around, totally customizable. You can also share and back up your layouts, so that's pretty awesome. Again, maybe multiple people using the same keyboard. You can actually save your layout, and you can actually have someone else, load up their layout, for example. Or maybe for different applications, you want to have different setups. You have something for at work, maybe using your keyboard or at work and at home, whatever it is. Bottom line is you're not locked into one thing. You can have different setups, and you can quickly switch between one and the other. And it's also firmware upgradable, so in the future you'll be able to maybe add more features. So we're going to go into a little bit more details about those features, but for now I just want to let you know how you can get this keyboard in terms of what's available. So you have 4 different options. You have the Advantage 2, which is this one. You have the Advantage 2 LF, you have the Advantage 2 QD, and the Advantage 2 Silver. So let's talk about what these actually mean. So first of all, with these different models, you have different types of keys. You have the cherry brown key switches, and you have the cherry red key switches. So the Advantage 2, the Advantage 2 QD, and Advantage 2 Silver all have the cherry brown key switches. The Advantage 2 LF comes with the cherry red key switches. Now, obviously, the Advantage 2 Silver comes in silver. The Advantage QD, standing for QWERTY Dvorak, has dual legends, so you can quickly switch between those 2 different types of layouts. Now, as far as the specifications on the keyboard, it supports Windows 7, 8, and 10, Mac OS X 8.6 Plus, Linux, and Chrome. You have 2 megabytes onboard memory, and the size of it is 2.875 height, 16.50 width, and 8 inches depth. It weighs 2.2 pounds. And the USB cable length is 72 inches, and it comes with 3-year limited warranty and lifetime technical support. I've only called them probably 3 times in the last 13 years or so, and they've been awesome every time. Now, some of the accessories that are available for this keyboard is there's a single foot pedal, a triple foot pedal, which I have, and I'll be showing you guys. You can also get replacement palm pads and also a low force keypad. Now, just for comparison, for those of you familiar with the original keyboard, so the original Advantage versus the Advantage 2. Memory was only 2 kilobytes. That's why you couldn't really record much with that keyboard. Well, it recorded enough for my purposes, but I guarantee you I'm going to be taking full advantage of the 200 plus characters that the Advantage 2 can record. That's right, 200 plus characters. Now, with the 2 kilobytes you had in the original keyboard, that was only enough for you to record 56 characters. So we've gone from 56 to 200 plus. That's a pretty big jump, and once again, I'm gonna be loving it. Is this a McDonald's commercial? Anyway, you've also have an increase in speed. The macros can play back at up to 200 words per minute. Actually, it can do up to 3,000 words per minute, and you can also turn it down to 100 words per minute. So once again, you can have your macros play back at 100 words per minute or up to 3,000 words per minute. That is pretty sweet. So once again, you can save multiple layouts of this keyboard. So all that customization that you can do on the keyboard, you can save that with a text file. You can share it with your friends or colleagues. That's pretty awesome and pretty convenient. And it's just saved as a simple text file. And one thing to remember about this keyboard, it's not software driven, right? This is not something where you're downloading drivers and you got to download the Kinesis macro app and all this kind of stuff. The keyboard, it's the keyboard. The keyboard does everything. The keyboard mechanically is wonderful as far as as not having injuries and being able to type comfortably, being able to type very quickly. The keyboard also, all of this macro recording and changing of the speeds and different layouts, all that stuff is in the keyboard. So that means anywhere you take the keyboard, all that stuff comes with you. So you can move the keyboard to different locations, different computers, and all of that customizations, it's all inside the keyboard. Now, I wanted to comment about the mechanical switches. So it has Cherry MX switches, which are, according to Kinesis, the best switches in the business. They're supposed to be long-lasting. Now, my original keyboard I had for over 10 years. Now, they're supposed to be long-lasting. They have 50 M keystrokes, and they're supposed to be very reliable. I have never had a problem with my keyboard at all whatsoever. No mechanical issues whatsoever. Now, you have two types of keys that you can get, or switches you can get for the keyboard. Now, you have the red and the brown. Now, both of them are low force. That's the idea. It's supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to avoid repetitive stress injuries. So you don't want to be, these injuries are cumulative, right? So even though pressing a key is not hard, right? But you do it so many times over time, and it can stress your body. So these keys are designed very well to where they don't require a lot of pressure to press the keys. Now, even beyond that, they've given you the flexibility of having two different types of keys on this, or switches, which give you variations in how it feels. So with the red, you have a more smooth feel. With the browns, you have a more tactile bump that lets you know when the key has been pressed. So that's really, really awesome that you can get the keyboard to be catering to exactly what your tastes are. It's not just you buy the keyboard and that's, whatever it is, it is what it is, right? No. Two options. Pick whichever one is best for you. Now, one of the examples that Kinesis gave in terms of the convenience of having the custom layouts. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with that, but they gave a little example, which I thought was pretty interesting. So they say in the case of a software engineer, now you may use the escape key a lot, like we use escape a lot in Linux when we're using certain editors and you need to get out of them. And there's a lot of different scenarios where you use the escape key. But generally speaking, we don't use caps lock a lot in Linux, right? So very easily and very quickly, just by clicking some keys, you can actually switch those keys. So you can switch the escape key to a more convenient location for you. And then you can get that num lock out of the way, or caps lock rather, or whatever key. You got keys on your keyboard that aren't relevant to the task at hand. Do you have keys that are very relevant and frequently used for the task at hand? Why not move those frequently used keys to a more convenient location and move those ones that you don't really need out of the way? You can do all of that with this keyboard, no software required, very quickly and very easily and very conveniently. That is one of the many advantages of the Advantage 2. Another example is maybe you, like me, use Adobe Premiere for editing, and you have a bunch of shortcuts or macros that you've created in your keyboard. Like, let's say, for example, here's a key example of how this can come in handy. Now, one of the things I hate about Adobe Premiere is the title tool. Now, in After Effects, it's so awesome. You can just pretty much start typing on your composition at any time. Just click on the type tool and start typing. That's it. So simple, so easy, right? Premiere, made by the same company, Adobe, which is strange. It's like you have to go file or something, new title, and then the new title window opens up, and then you have to go and draw a box and then choose your font and choose your style and do this and that, and then save the title, and then you got to go find the title in which window. All this kind of mumbo jumbo. Wouldn't it be nice if you could automate some of that using a macro? Well, you can do that with this keyboard. You can save a macro because there's lots of keyboard shortcuts in Adobe Premiere, right? So you can take advantage of those keyboard shortcuts to make things much easier. So save a macro that automatically creates a new title or does something like that for you. So it's like you click one button, boom, you've got a new title, or whatever it is, whatever action it is that you do that's annoying, it's too many steps and you're doing it over and over again, save it in your keyboard, right? And again, you don't need software, it's all in the keyboard. Now, you could save a whole bunch of them in Premiere, but what if you're using another application as well, Adobe Audition for doing audio, like I'm recording the sound right now in Adobe Audition? Well, you can save a bunch bunch of macros there too and have that be in a separate layout. So when you're using Adobe Premiere, you can use the Premiere layout. When you're using Adobe Audition, you can use the Adobe Audition layout. You can switch between these two, all using the keyboard alone. No software required. One of the many advantages of the Advantage 2. Now, another advantage is the macros. You always had macros, but now you can edit the macros. So back in the day, you'd record a macro. If you made a mistake, you'd record it again, and you record it again until you get it right. Nothing wrong with the keyboard. It's all about user error. You making mistakes while recording your macro. Something you didn't think about. You know, a lot of different things happen. Rather than doing that over and over again, you could actually create a layout and then edit any mistakes. You can also do things like adding delays and changing the playback speed within the macro. Now, with the old Advantage, you didn't have the ability to do firmware updates. So new operating system comes out, maybe you might have problems. Now, fortunately for me, I didn't really have problems. I think the only issue I had was with the USB hub. I never really got that to work with a lot of my applications. I think it was a power issue in terms of the amount of power that was being supplied. Not really sure, but the bottom line is you always want to make sure that your computer hardware is updatable, because a new operating system comes out, new ways of doing things, new ways of communicating with hardware, and then your hardware can become dated, right? So now you can firmware update to keep it up to date. Now keep in mind, even without the firmware updating functionality, I was able to use the keyboard for over 10 years. So I think Kinesis has you covered. Now, there's also a limited edition version of this keyboard. So it's a limited edition model that has a graphite pattern hydro skin with super smooth, glossy finish and absolutely very unique looking. I know one of the complaints that some people have made is that they don't particularly like the looks of the keyboard. Now, quite contrary to that, there are many people who actually do like it and think it looks pretty cool and high-tech. And very interesting fact that the original keyboard was actually seen in one of the installments of Men in Black. So finally, the Kinesis Advantage 2 is made in the USA, and that's pretty awesome. And also the new warranty is 3 years. Pretty awesome. So that is the Kinesis Advantage 2, and we're going to be going over this keyboard in much more detail. I'm going to show you how some of these features work and give you my feedback on the features in future episodes. So you definitely want to subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and please comment below. Tell me how you like this video, what you didn't like about the video, what you'd like to see in future videos, or just say hi. You're watching Carlisle's Picks, and this has been a review on the Kinesis Advantage 2 keyboard. To everyone across the globe, type safely on a new Kinesis Advantage 2 keyboard, or the keyboard of your choice. But my choice is the Kinesis Advantage 2.
Kinesis Advantage keyboard.